Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cleveland Sports Show. This segment we have Logan Purcell joining us once again. Logan, it's been a couple of weeks. How have you been doing these last couple of weeks, just to start off?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. How about you?
Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Let's talk about, Logan, something I'm super excited about. The NBA season is finally coming back. The regular season, as we mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, begins December 22nd. And Logan, I don't know about you, but I'm super excited about the games we have opening night. We have a Kevin Durant rematch with his former teammates in Golden State. Uh, Opening game of the NBA season is going to take place at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. The Golden State Warriors will be taking on the Brooklyn Nets, which should be a healthy Nets squad. And then the Los Angeles Clippers will be taking on the Lakers. That's going to be at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, obviously. And the Lakers are actually going to have it's going to be their home game. So to start off, Logan, which of those two games on opening night are you looking more forward to? Is it the Battle of LA or Kevin Durant's reunion with his teammates?
I think watching Kevin Durant go back home, just go back to his former team, is going to be an interesting battle over there. Because I mean, I know a lot of the big questions in the NBA have been, Kevin Durant obviously being one of the top scorers, if not the greatest scorer in NBA history, coming back to see if he really can go back to that superstar level that he was at before that Achilles injury.
Yeah, for sure. And now the Warriors, Logan, totally different story this year. I think they're going to be a lot more competitive than they were last season. Now that you have a healthy Steph Curry, Draymond Green's obviously there. You've got this new pick with Wiseman, so I'm expecting this to definitely be a tightly contested affair, especially now that Brooklyn is reloaded with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. That should definitely be a great game to watch. And we'll see Montrezl Harrell with the Lakers as well, going up against his former team with the Clippers. So the Battle of LA is definitely going to be an interesting one. We also have, Andrew, games already scheduled for Christmas Day. I'll give you the slate right now. They're all going to be on national television. We start the day in Miami with Pelicans taking on the Heat. We then have the Warriors in Milwaukee taking on the Bucks. The Nets will be in Boston at TD Garden facing off against the Celtics. The Mavericks will be in Los Angeles for a matchup with the Lakers. And then the final match of the night will be in Denver, rematch of the playoff series this past season with the Clippers and the Nuggets. Out of those matchups, Andrew, first off, which one are you looking forward, or excuse me, Logan, which one are you looking forward to seeing the most? And is there a team on here who's not playing on Christmas Day that you wish you would have seen?
Well, for me, I've got actually a little bit of a bias here. I am a huge Celtics fan,
so am I. So am I. Don't worry.
I am most excited to see that game. But if I had to pick besides that, I'm going to have to go with that Dallas Lakers matchup.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we've seen the rising star that Luka Doncic has become, and he in my opinion, is going to be a top 3 NBA player for years to come. And I think he's going to be really good. A team that I would have loved to see. I would have liked to see Kevin Durant play.
Well, I mean, he might play because the Nets are playing the Celtics. So.
Oh, that's right. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that'll probably be my matchup to watch for sure.
That's my matchup too, Logan. I was looking at this slate of games, and I'm just like you. I'm a big Jason Tatum fan, big Celtics fan. I've been following the team since Kyrie Irving was eventually traded there, but then left. I still follow him now. But the Celtics aren't going to be without Kemba Walker. He's going to be out until January due to some surgery issues. So the Celtics are going to have their hands full in their first 2 games of the season, because they before that game against the Nets, they're going to host the Bucks in their opening game. The Bucks are reloaded too. Like, don't sleep on the Milwaukee Bucks just because the Nets are here, the Sixers are here, the Celtics are here. The Bucks have reloaded as well. Not only do they have Giannis, you still have Chris Middleton. You have that huge acquisition to me in Drew Holiday is amazing for Milwaukee. I definitely think that's something that's going to keep Giannis around. Logan, what are your overall thoughts on the Bucks? Because I know we've talked. Everyone in the East says, "Oh, they're going to win the conference, but, they have underperformed these last couple of years. What do you think their expectations should be this year?
Well, the issue that I have with the Bucks is, a lot of people, you look at Giannis with regular season, he's just he's that dude. He is just an MVP, super freak athlete, right?
Yeah,
he is crazy. He is reigning MVP 2 times. But the issue that I have with putting him in like that, great in the NBA is he doesn't win in the playoffs. And to me, to be one of those great players, you've got to win in the playoffs. And this Bucks team has failed to do so in these past couple seasons with Giannis seemingly at his peak. So, I think the acquisition of a really good, versatile wing defender and a great offensive scorer, a dude that can get it done on his own, I think the Bucks really need that. But, as it has been the past few years, their expectations got to be the finals.
Where do you personally think they're going to finish this season?
I'm not a huge. I don't have a lot of confidence in Giannis and those guys. I think they built a very well built team around Giannis, but I don't see them making it past the second round with how loaded the Eastern Conference is. You've got Kevin Durant and Kyrie. You've got Tatum and that deep Celtics team. You've got the Sixers, who are going to look, in my opinion, really good this year with Doc Rivers over there. So it's got a really good Eastern Conference.
For sure. I'm talking about that Eastern Conference too. Another team, Logan, who we've kind of forgot about with the East are now the Washington Wizards. Because a trade happened. Last year we were thinking, Wizards, one of the worst teams in the NBA. Yeah, they're fun to watch, but they're not a playoff team. Bradley Beal's the only star of the show. It's a different mindset in the nation's capital now because Russell Westbrook is now a member of the Washington Wizards. They had to give up their centerpiece, John Wall, so they got the Wizards don't have to deal with his extensive contract anymore. But John Wall is now in Houston with James Harden. Overall, Logan, what are your thoughts on this John Wall, Russell Westbrook trade? First, we'll start with the Wizards. How do you think that benefits or does not benefit them?
Well, for the Wizards, I personally love the trade. I think Russell Westbrook is the kind of mentality that they need. He's that kind of guy that's going to walk on the floor every night, and he's not going to back down from anyone. He's not going to. He's going to go to the rack, and they really need some finishing in the paint. They don't really have that guy that's going to drive in and just take. He's not going to take anything from anyone. Bradley Beal is a great player, and I'm really high on Bradley Beal, but he's that kind of. He's a really good spot-up shooter. He's a really good shooter off the dribble, but he's not a great finisher. I think they really needed that playmaking superstar point guard that I think they're getting in Russell Westbrook.
And just an interesting fact here, Logan. Last year with the Rockets, Russell Westbrook played only 57 games, averaged about 36 minutes per game. That's his usual, about 36. Averaged 28 points per game, his highest in about points per game average in about 3 years. But that 57 games he played, Logan, the lowest he's had since 2014. Do you think I'm a little bit worried about that? I guess maybe we shouldn't be worried about that because this is Russell Westbrook we're talking about. But I think this backcourt pairing of Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal is just going to be fantastic because now the pressure is going to be off of Russell Westbrook to shoot the basketball. It's not like he had that pressure in Houston, but I think him, James Harden having the ball all the time really frustrated Russell Westbrook. Now, Bradley Beal is a guy who doesn't need the ball, 22 seconds of the 24 in the shot clock. So I definitely think the Wizards are going to be successful. And you were talking about Adjiva, the 9th pick. Sorry if I mispronounced his name. But I think the Wizards should definitely make the playoffs this year. Is that what you think as well?
Yeah. I could have them, again, similar situation with the Bucks. I have them as a later seed because of how good that Eastern Conference is, but right. I really do like that team. I think Russell Westbrook was pressured last year to shoot the ball because that's the kind of offense that the Rockets had.
Yeah.
It was him and Harden shooting the ball up and down the floor, and it was a very fast-paced offense that I don't think he was used to when he was back in Oklahoma City.
Right.
And then when it comes to the the amount of games he played, I'm not too concerned about that because if you look at the past standing, and you look at where the Rockets were about halfway through the year,
Mm-hmm.
they were almost a lock to the playoff spot already. So, I mean, I think it was kind of a strategical standpoint from Mike D'Antoni, almost sitting Westbrook a little bit, trying to keep some tread off of his legs for the playoffs.
Yeah, well, he was still injured when the playoffs came around, though, this past summer. But obviously unprecedented times this year. Now, Logan, let's move to the other side of this trade. We talked about the Wizards. Let's talk about the Houston Rockets. So as of right now, they have a backcourt of John Wall and James Harden. The Rockets also acquired DeMarcus Cousins earlier or last November, or this past November, I should say, excuse me. So do you think James Harden has a case to stay in Houston now, or do you think he should still be pulling for a trade?
Well, in my experience of watching the Rockets, one thing that I have learned that the Rockets need to do, in my opinion, to be as successful as they want to be, is they got to get rid of D'Antoni. I mean, I just don't like the kind of system that he's built, and I understand, he's trying to revolutionize the game.
They got rid of him. They got rid of Mike D'Antoni's now with the Nets.
Oh,
you remember they hired Steven
right.
Silas? Steven Silas is now the head coach in Houston.
Now, what I wonder is if Harden is really going to be able to change the way he plays based on the new head coach. And if that is the case, I think this John Wall pickup is going to be a really big move, because I think he's going to be able to move the ball a little bit better than Russell Westbrook was. And, despite obviously D'Antoni now being gone, they're still going to be a shooting team, I suspect. And John Wall, if you look at percentages, is just a better shooter than Russell Westbrook was.
Yeah.
So I think the pickup of John Wall is going to help the Rockets tremendously, but I just think the lack of size is still going to hurt them. And besides the Marcus Cousins.
And Logan, you mentioned how Wall's a better shooter than Westbrook, but I'm going to be honest with you, it's not by that much. I'm looking at these stats right now. John Wall obviously missed all of this past year with an injury, recovering. And so 2 years ago, his most recent season, Logan, he shot only 30% from three-point range. And this past season, Russell Westbrook was at about 26%. So, that does concern me a little bit, because we know how three-point oriented the Rockets are. But do you think that Steven Silas is going to come in and change that? Do you think James Harden isn't going to be shooting as many threes, and the team in general isn't going to be shooting as many threes?
I mean, I'd like to say I believe that he will. I can't say that James Harden's going to be able to accept that, because he's been so used to this ISO game that he's had for these past 5 or 6 years over in Houston. But, I mean, I really like the idea of Silas coming in and stepping up and really, changing the narrative in Houston and turning it into not as much of a drive down the court, pull up, shoot, shooting 30 to 40 threes a game.
Right. So
I think he's going to be able to change that, but we'll see if Harden's able to adjust.
Yeah, I'm going to be very interested to see what the Rockets do this year. Finally, we can't talk. It's a Cleveland sports show, so we have to talk about our hometown Cavaliers. Logan, the Cavs are going to open the preseason with 4 total games. They have a game at the Q, and then they have one in Indianapolis. So both of these games are going to be against the Pacers. Saturday the 12th, first game for the Cavs in about 9 months against the Pacers at home at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. And then they'll be in Indianapolis Monday the 14th against the Pacers. As of right now, the current roster, of course, Cavs for a new rookie, Isaac Okoro. JaVale McGee is now a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers. They also agreed to a deal with Thon Maker. Tristan Thompson is gone with the Celtics, but in his place is replaced by Andre Drummond. Damian Dotson signed a multi-year deal with the Cavs. We haven't seen Dylan Windler yet, who was actually a Cavs draft pick in last year's NBA draft. And, of course, Kevin Love, Kevin Porter, Chetty Osman, all those guys still there. So, Logan, what are your overall expectations for the Cavs of this season? And also, what are some of your predictions for their first 2 games of the preseason?
For the first couple games of the preseason, I'd like to see Isaac Okoro. I want to see if he's really able to be the kind of defensive factor that he was so hyped up to be.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, everybody's got their role, and I think his role is going to be able, when they go up and play the Lakers, when they go and play teams like that, the Celtics, he's going to have to lock up the best player.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's going to be his job. And I'm interested to see if he's really going to take on that role or if he's going to try to shine away from it.
And also, I mentioned there were 4 games, Logan. The Cavs are also playing the Knicks. Both those games will be at Madison Square Garden. Those games Wednesday the 16th and Friday the 18th. We get to see Isaac Okoro versus Obi Toppin. What are your thoughts on the Cavs taking on the Knicks for those last 2 games?
I think it's going to be a really good matchup. I'm excited to see Isaac Okoro, who's more of a smaller guy when it comes to weight. He's a little bit lighter than a bigger built guy like Obi Toppin. It'll be interesting to see if he, again, steps up, takes the challenge, and decides, I'm not letting him score.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see that. And I'm also interested to see a little bit more of the scoring factor, which hasn't been as big of a story as his defense.
Yeah.
But I think if you look at the highlights, he can score the ball, too. So I'm interested to see if he's able to get a little bit of scoring in, too.
Definitely. Last question about the Cavs here, Logan. Overall, what are your expectations for them this season? You mentioned multiple times how the East, is very stacked, and I completely agree with you. But I think in terms of a rebuilding team in the NBA, the Cavs have to be on the top of your list. They still have an all-star in Kevin Love, and they've got some quality pieces in Kevin Porter. You have Sexton, you have Garland, you have Larry Nance Jr. still around. Obviously, I think they made a terrible decision trading Jordan Clarkson away. We're not going to start that, or I'm going to get very depressed about it. But, they still have a solid team here. So what are your expectations for them this season?
Coming into the last 10-ish games of the year, I'd like to see the Cavs on the brink of a playoff spot. But, I mean, with the team that they have, I can't say that I really see it happening this year. As you mentioned, the East is really good this year.
Mm-hmm.
And, one consistency that you look across the board and see is you see a guy that has been a consistent all-star every year. With the Wizards, you got Russell Westbrook. With a team like the Nets, you got KD. With a team like the Bucks, you got Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like even the teams that are at the bottom of the list with the playoffs have one of those guys. And to me, the past few years, Kevin Love hasn't been that guy. He was that guy in Minnesota before he got traded, but ever since then, I don't think he's been the same guy. I mean, like I said, I love.
Well, don't you think? Wouldn't you think, Logan? Just to say, just that Kevin Love point you were mentioning, I'll let you finish. But don't you think he hasn't had a chance to be the guy because LeBron and Kyrie had that role for so long?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, I agree with that. But at the same time, when you think of a superstar, all-star kind of player,
mm-hmm.
you think of a guy that is coming out and playing well enough to bring his team to more than 20, 30 wins a year. At least like around a 500 record.
Yeah.
Especially with the good young supporting cast that you've mentioned. Kevin Porter, Darius Garland, Colin Sexton, guys like that.
Chetty Osman too.
Chetty Osman as well.
Yeah.
You think at least a 500 record from Kevin Love. But at this point, I don't know if he's really an all-star anymore.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think the Cavs probably should have traded him for draft value this past season. I would have traded up in the draft possibly and tried to get up and get a guy like, one of the LaMelo, maybe Anthony Edwards or Wiseman, one of those guys that really could have been like a roster-changing kind of player.
Yeah. I've heard some of those Kevin Love rumors too. Maybe he'll use that as inspiration going into the season, but we'll see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, Cavs start their preseason next Saturday, December 12th at 7 p.m. at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, home game against the Indiana Pacers. The Cavs, that Monday, the 14th, will then head to Indianapolis to face off against the Pacers once again. After that matchup in Indianapolis, they'll be the following Wednesday, they'll be at Madison Square Garden in New York City for 2 games against the Knicks, one at 7:30 on Wednesday and 7:30 on Friday, the 18th as well. That concludes our NBA news for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Logan, it's time to talk about the Cleveland Browns. So we weren't here last week, and 2 Browns games have occurred. We'll talk about this game by game. First, Browns played the Eagles November 22nd at home. It was a win for Cleveland. They get it 22-17 against Philadelphia. At the halfway point of the game, Browns were up 7-0. Philadelphia actually outscored Cleveland in the third quarter by 7-5 third quarter score. And the game was actually, the fourth quarter score was tied 10-10, but the Browns had that 5-point cushion, win the game set 22-17. Carson Wentz, 21 for 35, threw for 235 yards, 2 touchdowns for him, but also 2 interceptions. For Baker Mayfield, the Browns quarterback, 12-22, threw for 204 yards, didn't have any touchdowns, Logan, but no interceptions as well. I know it's been a while, but what do you remember, and what are kind of your overall thoughts on that Browns win against the Eagles?
For me, at least, it was a very motivating victory for the Browns. I mean, I really liked the pick six from Tione Takitaki. That was a huge play, I think, on the tip. That was a very important play in that game, I think, and it gave me a little bit more confidence in that Browns secondary. As for the offense, I mean, as you mentioned, the stats from Baker, they're not stats that are, wowing you. They're not, Aaron Rodgers level, Patrick Mahomes level, or anything like that. But it's the kind of clean game that Baker needs to play for the Browns to win consistently. As I mentioned on previous episodes, the Browns have to rely on the running game. They are going to have to lean on the running game to win games. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be able to rely on Baker, I don't think. They're going to not to consistently win. And what they did in that Eagles game is they put the ball on the ground and they pounded the defense down and wore them out. Baker did his job by playing a clean game. It gave me some confidence in Baker's ability, and it gave me some confidence in that defensive secondary.
Yeah, definitely. I was really impressed. Carson Wentz wasn't great in that game, but he's kind of had a mediocre season to me, and it seemed like the Browns were able to take advantage of that. They take advantage of the Eagles, win it 22-17. So that gave the Browns a 7-3 record. Then they headed to Jacksonville this past weekend for a matchup with the Jaguars. And if you looked at the before you watched this game and you looked at the records, you would have thought, okay, this is going to be an easy win for the Browns. This will be a nice warm-up match for them for when they have the Titans, which is going to be this upcoming Sunday. But it was actually a lot closer. Browns won this one, Logan, by only 2, 27-25. Baker Mayfield threw for 258 yards, had 2 touchdowns. Browns were kind of, just kept fighting and fighting. Mike Glennon, quarterback for the Jaguars, threw for 2 touchdowns as well. So if you look at the quarterback stats, it was a rather even game. But Logan, what are your overall thoughts on this Browns victory?
On this one, you look at the 2 touchdowns from Glennon and you think, oh man, that secondary really struggled. But if you watch the tape, that really wasn't the case. If you look at the numbers and things like that in the running game, where Cleveland is top 10 right now, Jerome Robinson ran all over that defense. Mm-hmm. Now there is to take into account the fact that Myles Garrett did not play in that game, so they weren't getting pressure and they just weren't able to take him down. It seemed like Jerome Robinson was doing whatever he needed to do, whatever he wanted to do.
Right.
So I feel like that gave me a little bit of ease, at least when, I saw the fact that Garrett was out. And then, on the offensive side of the ball, the running game struggled just a little bit at times in the game, at least in the first half. It was a bit troublesome to watch the fact that neither Chubb nor Kareem Hunt could get started. But the fact that Baker was able to come in and really change what was going on in that game, and they were able to walk away with a victory.
Yeah, as we just talked about, Nick Chubb ran for 144 yards, 1 touchdown. Jarvis Landry with a touchdown as well. And then Austin Hooper ran for 13 yards, 1 touchdown for him as well. Browns win this one 27-25 in Jacksonville against the Jaguars. In the terms of the overall standings for the NFL, Browns have overtaken Baltimore for that second seed. Steelers are still top spot in the AFC North Division. They're 11-0, Logan. They're 6-0 at home, 5-0 on the road. Browns now second in the AFC North, as I mentioned. They're 8-3. They're 5-1 at home and 3-2 on the road. That win in Jacksonville got them over the 500 mark in their road record. upcoming schedule for the Browns includes this Sunday a matchup with the Tennessee Titans down south. That'll be a road game. This will be their second game of their 2-game road trip. They'll return home on Monday the 14th for a matchup with the Ravens. But Logan, with this Browns game against the Tennessee Titans, Browns have a record of 8-3, Titans with a record of 8-3. Overall, what are you expecting for this one?
I'm expecting a very back and forth battle. The one scary thing that I see going into a Titans game is obviously the big name Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's question going into this game is, are the Browns going to be able to slow down Derrick Henry? Because in my opinion, they don't even have to neutralize him or completely shut him down, because at the end of the day, it's Derrick Henry. That's not going to happen. Your job is to slow him down and make sure that Ryan Tannehill can make up for that with his star wideout in A.J. Brown. But, I'm expecting, personally, I don't think the Browns defense is going to be able to keep up with Derrick Henry continuously pounding into them. Mm-hmm. And then the offensive passing game of the Titans with the speed receivers of Corey Davis and A.J. Brown and guys like that continuously running, the constant slants and the ins and the outs and those kinds of routes that Titans team likes to run.
Yeah. So do you think the Browns are going to win this one, Logan? Seems like what you said.
I don't. I'm gonna take a Titan win, 24-20.
Okay, interesting. So you think it's definitely going to be a close one, but Tennessee's going to pull away in the end.
Yeah. I think just Derrick Henry's going to just continuously tire that defense out, and Garrett is back this week, but I don't think that's going to be a big enough factor.
Yeah, don't blame me for making that prediction, because Titans in their division, the AFC South NFL division, they're top in their division. 8-3 record, as I mentioned, same as the Browns. They're 4-2 at home, 4-1 on the road. They also have won 2 games in a row, so they have some momentum. But the Browns have won 3 games in a row of their own. So these are 2 teams that definitely have some momentum heading into this Sunday's matchup. Ladies and gentlemen, Browns-Titans, this upcoming Sunday at 1 p.m. It'll be live on CBS. So mark your calendars. Browns fans, you probably already had that day marked for quite some time. And it's going to be a great matchup. Very much looking forward to it. Logan, that concludes our episode of the Cleveland Sports Show. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Really appreciate you having your in-depth analysis. It was fantastic. Really enjoyed talking with you about the NBA and the Browns this week. We'll have more to talk about as the NBA preseason is going to get underway, so we'll have some games to talk about. And then we'll talk about the Browns and their matchup with the Titans. So, Logan, thank you so much again for joining me. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much, Logan. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our episode of the Cleveland Sports Show. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, you're probably wondering, Darius, that was such a fantastic show. I want to listen to more. Where can I find these episodes? Well, don't worry. I have the answer for you. So if you're on NordoniaHills.News, just go to the Contributors tab, find my name. It's Darius Sethna. It's spelled Darius Sethna. So you'll be able to find my name. It's about the third one down. Click on my name, and all of my work with the Nordonia Hills media community will be there for you to read or to listen to. I have past episodes of the Cleveland Sports Show on there, and I have some articles that I wrote, if you keep scrolling down, that I wrote over this past summer. Had a chance to do some player bios. You can also go to my Twitter page. @Nordonia Sports is my Twitter handle. Once again, my name is spelled Darius Sethna, if you'd like to type that into the search box as well. Additionally, the Cleveland Sports Show is also on the go on Spotify. So if you're on Spotify, just type in Darius Sethna, and my podcast will come up ready for you to listen to wherever you may be. You don't even have to be in Ohio. You can be anywhere and listen to the Cleveland Sports Show. The Cleveland Sports Show is also on YouTube. Just type in Cleveland Sports Show or Darius Sethna, and you'll be able to get my podcast from there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me this week. We will see you. We will see you soon. Thank you so much for your time. Go Browns, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen.